A familiar roadside oasis, American plan with 20th century trappings, geared to the modern manner and needs. Here the caravans of commerce, the overland travelers pause for a while and demonstrate the mobility of a nation that has grown up on wheels, whose system of transportation may be used as a yardstick of its progress. Few are the limitations in this setup. Americans can go anywhere, anytime, quickly and economically, can transport their goods, obtain their varied services the same way. Here is convenience and flexibility without comparison in any other land. A truly remarkable system, this, backed up by a 3-million-mile web of roadway, 50% of it surfaced, more than the rest of the world has combined. Where every express highway, every two-laned country road, no matter how remote, is part of the crisscrossed lacework to anywhere at all. North, south, east, west, across the mountains, the plains, the rivers. The routes are charted, the way is clear. Yes, this is a nation whose economic and social structure seemingly is based on the automobile and the vehicles that have stemmed from it. But there are many among us who can recall when there wasn't an auto to be seen on the streets. Less than 50 years ago, this was still a predominantly rural country, with much of its life drearily affected by extremes of weather and roads that were impassable for weeks at a stretch. A whole era away from the ease and comforts which today are considered almost part of the American birthright. Life on the farm was particularly difficult before 1900, almost primitive compared to the present. Convenience was for millions, often only a word in the dictionary, if you found time to look for it. Each family was a close-knit unit of home production and largely self-sufficient, partly because it preferred it that way, but mostly because it had little, if any, choice. The refinements, the shortcuts, were still not available. But the turn of the century was to bring us an end to the isolation, the long hours, the limited way of life. A new concept of living came into focus with the contraption called the horseless carriage. At first mistrusted, spoofed at, but gradually accepted as the open sesame to the new age, the automobile age, which was to have one of the greatest effects ever to rise from American mechanical genius. These types were pure luxury in those days, owned and operated by only a small percentage of the people. But today's existence is geared to a base that visibly affects every American family or individual. The automobile is no longer a luxury. It is a virtual necessity, and more than 50% of all driving is regarded as necessity driving in the full sense of the word. Whether we like it or not, we must place a top-heavy premium on mobility. Consider the use of the car in getting to work, allowing people to live in pleasant suburbs 10 or 20 miles from their drill press, sales counter, or office desk. For here is transportation available to anyone, as millions of factory workers can testify. Factories, incidentally, that can be built bigger and better and far removed from congested areas, because people can get to them more quickly. But the factor of mobility is not the only important one today. Of equal importance is dependability, bringing the doctor when you need him, no matter where, Kentucky backwoods cabin or city penthouse. The kind of dependability that has largely contributed to the success of the consolidated school system and rise in our education level. The kind that brings assurance of protection to our lives, our homes, our general well-being 24 hours a day, every day. There is, in fact, no other form of transportation that has contributed so much to the overall mosaic of modern Americana. Take a good look around. What other method would enable people to find time for the needed stimulus of recreation, the hours of leisure, the bodybuilding that provides the sort of social and physical balance that most of us seek? This does not mean that those without automobiles are abandoned to helplessness. Public transportation in this country rates a high priority among civic needs, and the most versatile transit utility is the motor bus. The bus goes anywhere, linking communities that aren't even within whistle sound of a rail line. Its mobility permits a scheduled frequency and low passenger rate of fare beyond the reach of any other form of transportation. And as a means of getting about in sprawling, crowded cities, the bus rapidly is becoming the leading method of public travel. Its routes easily adjustable to population shifts and trends. Its maneuverability a particular blessing in rush hour traffic. And whether it is a bus line or truck line, the public welfare is a prime consideration for those responsible for safety on our streets and highways. Periodic checkups and rigid maintenance are musts, and nothing is so trivial that they can afford to overlook it. Now, Americans have long boasted that theirs is the highest standard of living on earth, providing us with a cup that not only runs over, but which helps care for less fortunate nations. A standard, however, that would be unattainable without the miraculous partner of mass distribution, spreading the products of our skills and enterprise so that no one in the land may lack what he wants or needs. An impossible job without highway transport. There are thousands of communities not directly served by railroads. For instance, Milford, Pennsylvania. What it needs, it gets, just as any other city. A pound of nails or an automatic toaster. The world of whimsy and toys for the tots are as handy as Main Street. What's to be worn to school or party? The latest styles lose no time arriving here. Build a house, a garage, a bank. The materials flow freely along with medical supplies for the corner druggist. All the commodities for a full life. Nor could the makers of these goods thrive as they do without the transport that makes possible the integrated and continuous assembly line, a line that may extend hundreds of miles, linked through 3 or 4 cities, as in this tractor factory in Cleveland. Parts from several points funnel into a final assembly plant. Here, one of many daily loads of steel plate rolls in from Pittsburgh to be made into tractor frames. At the same time, humming along another highway is a truck from Canton, Ohio, bearing another vital part, the engines. Track shoes will come from still another city. The advantages summed up may be stated briefly. The materials you want when you need them, guaranteed by an efficient, economical system of distribution that can make its own time schedules. Here, the sum total of this system at work, outward bound. Tractors headed for a wheat farmer in Kansas, an apple grower in Michigan, a potato producer in Idaho. Now, our eating habits today are vastly changed from what they were 25 years ago, when we were confined to the fruits and vegetables grown locally and in season, and not much more. Today, we enjoy the best balanced diet possible on a year-round basis. Beans from Carolina, spinach from Maryland, broccoli from Pennsylvania, citrus fruits from Texas, Florida, or California, all because of weight-for-nothing transportation, often refrigerated, which can deliver perishables 1,000 miles or more, still fresh and flavorful when they reach the shelves. It is this rapid door-to-door adaptability that puts the capital S in service in this country. Today, you just buy it. You don't have to lug it with you. Whether it's a dozen shirts or a grand piano, "Deliver It, Please" is a popular tune with an equally harmonious obbligato on the department store cash register. Even a phone call will do it. A swirl of the dial and a tank of fuel oil is on the way. A moving van will transplant you to the next town, the next state, or half a continent away. If ever anything contributes to our way of life, it is these daily dates with a doorstep. As a link between other types of transportation, the truck today is solidly indispensable. The iron horse has been fully tamed, but it still can't pick up and deliver its burden to any door on any street. Every rail line in the country depends on trucks for the mobile handling of freight, with the railroads themselves owning and using hundreds of thousands of trucks daily. The airplane, shrinking the continent to a width of a few hours, provides us with the fastest transportation yet available, but it too must have its earthy connections. This high-flying freight, going or coming, calls for a truck at both ends. Fuel must be taken aboard in staggering quantities. Planes must be air-conditioned. Pre-cooked meals go straight from the caterer's kitchen to the Skyliner's galley. Mail and express must be collected and delivered to the airport in time, and passengers must be brought from the heart of the city, usually some miles distant. The paved extensions of the sea lanes will never show on the skipper's chart, but it would be a longer time between voyages without the trucks found at every port. As an industry, trucking has come a long way indeed since American commerce fostered this device as the ideal beast of all burdens. In their day, these were up-to-the-minute marvels, but by present standards, very limited. Today, as far as trucks are concerned, we may no longer credit our old friend necessity as the mother of invention. The new and more important factor is imagination, as truck manufacturers meet the need for types that are almost tools in themselves. Mammoth movers to meet the rugged demands of loggers in Washington, Oregon, and elsewhere. Lumber carriers for easier handling of the finished product. Carryalls. Mobile X-ray units. Cement mixers. Insect sprayers. Dump trucks. Pineapple harvesters. Rolling libraries. But to the public, the most prevalent conception of trucking as an industry stems from the over-the-road haulers, who in the relatively short space of 25 years have added a vital and dynamic business to the roster of American-born enterprises, an industry predicated on the idea that no better transportation formula has been devised involving the factors of load, schedule, and range of operation. Freighters like this level the mountains, span the valleys, conquer the desert. There is no crossroad hamlet they will not or cannot reach. Operating on the vast scale that they do, the truckers have dispatchers' offices with a romance all their own. Use of two-way radio telephone enables the dispatcher to keep in constant touch with members of his fleet wherever they may be. Perhaps one must be diverted on the highway to pick up a small but important cargo that hadn't originally been scheduled.
Truck 6-3, what is your location? We have unscheduled pickup at Middletown Terminal. Come in, please.
From truck 6-3, 5 miles from Middletown. Okay on that pickup. Okay. Out.
Contrary to popular belief, it isn't just anyone who can be a professional truck driver. This is hard and intense work, and the job can't be placed in the hands of a man with physical or emotional shortcomings. Trucking companies insist on a rigid medical examination for their drivers. Over-the-road haulers are highly selective in putting a man on the payroll, but they wind up with some of the best drivers on the highway. A big and responsible industry, this. Of 10 billion tons of commerce moved yearly in America, more than half goes by truck, more than all other forms of delivery combined. No wonder highway transportation is second to agriculture as an employer of labor, with 8 million people in its various phases. Production line workers, salesmen, loaders, checkers, mechanics, oil field workers, filling station attendants, and road builders. This is the vital end product they are maintaining. Ever longer, wider, and safer for more people to use, and for the most part, paid for by the users themselves. More than $2 billion in special highway taxes yearly by owners of motor vehicles, a third of that total by truck and bus operators alone. Truly, this is the only transportation facility the entire nation shares. For this is a public pathway toward horizons unlimited, providing mobility so vital to the uninterrupted exchange of goods and services. This, then, is the 20th century trail to accomplishment, the shortcut to progress. This is one of 1,000 routes with a common direction, straight up the road to a better, stronger, more prosperous America.